days are very cold than others. Hello guys, we are on Life Saga TV. Let's get to discuss some few things just before I sleep, because I can't actually let this channel just idle. It will be unfortunate. So to revamp it, let's just discuss what happened in Tanzania. Of course, Tanzania, Suluhu Samia decided to change Independence Day celebrations into a lockdown, and so people were actually kept in houses like rats. Some of them were complaining because they don't have money to buy essentials, but they were told to be indoors, no walking around, no going to work unless you are actually working in a very essential kind of services, including the police, maybe among many others. And of course, today there are a lot of military men roaming the streets of Dar es Salaam and so many other places in Tanzania. Practically, there were people who were interviewed, some of them sharing how they got the wounds formally, and indicated that they were hit by the police in the legs, just like in Kenya, risasi ya mguu. And lucky enough, they were not killed. So they ran to some distance to save their lives. Or else, they said instructions to kill anybody who has been shot had been given, and they would have been found themselves in the mass graves. Now, the government just took another turn in a twist of events to pronounce that they didn't have enough money, don't have any more support from America, and the destruction during the demonstrations was heavy. So they are saving their money to use in repairing what was done away with. And of course, today the streets were deserted, and a lot of petrol stations and shops were not functioning. And this is a situation that is actually justifying the demonstrations that were yet to happen, because if leaders begin to fear the citizens and what they'll do, instead of actually providing security to those demonstrators, it really communicates a lot. It talks volumes, right? There is more than can meet an eye in whatever we are seeing right in this discussion. So let's just get to see what was happening in Tanzania today. I'm getting some clips for you. Then out of that, we can understand the reality about Tanzania. And let's start from here on Independence Day.
Poured in from Tanzanians using VPNs to avoid the digital monitoring. Many wrote identical phrases, "We are inside like rats." The symbolism is not lost on anyone. If citizens are indoors and soldiers are outside, who is really celebrating independence? And yet, this is the most politically striking point of the day. Most D9 supporters now claim that the protest has already succeeded without anyone stepping outside. Their argument is sharp and simple. If a government cancels national celebrations, deploys military, restricts fuel, bans gatherings, is already reacting out of fear. In their the psychological victory belongs to the people. International observers are now watching Tanzania's political direction with that ease. The UN has urged the government to protect the right to peaceful assembly. Human Rights Watch calls the current environment a climate of fear. Article 19 is demanding accountability for arbitrary arrest. The US has placed Tanzania under diplomatic review over civilian killings and suppression of free speech. The Commonwealth has quietly dispatched a special envoy to try and lower the tension. Meanwhile, Kenyans and regional commentators have been amplifying Tanzanian voices.
Alright guys, so there's one problem with us Kenyans. Kenyans want to intervene everything, in countries surrounding them. And one of the things they are really trying to do is to sensitize other citizens, whether in Uganda, Tanzania, or other countries, about their rights. And we've seen that some of them have got into problems, but they're still not stopping. Even recently, of course, you saw the case of the two guys who are kept in what they call a fridge in quotes in Uganda. But when they really arrived, they still talked and said they are going to even support what will happen in Tanzania. And of course, in Nairobi, there were some few protests that were happening in solidarity with Tanzania. Let's just look at that, and then we'll come back to the fact that Independence Day erupted into protests, some few protests in Tanzania. And of course, the case was arrested yesterday because some people wanted to go to the streets, were already noted critics, and anybody using the internet or rather the platforms to discuss politics and rather seem like they were inciting were arrested early. Of course, yesterday we had about 10 people who were arrested already in Dar es Salaam, Arusha, and other places just to stop any possibilities of protests. Now, this is something that we understand in a dictatorial nation. You have to use. I did a documentary on Ethiopia. I also did on Sudan, Cote d'Ivoire, Guinea-Bissau, among other nations that have done something in relation to the leadership. And you realize that in Ethiopia, especially the part where there are fights all the time that are continuously happening, there is a blackout kind of. People cannot access internet or even post what is happening to them. And the place is so risky. When you check also in Sudan, the same is happening. Get to Nigeria, the part of Boko Haram, of course, we are seeing the videos currently so much, but there is some kind of blackout or rather destruction of anything to do with the internet. And therefore, Tanzania is trying so much. They have not blocked people from accessing internet today because we kept seeing people sharing the videos of what is happening, the streets, the police, the way they are armed, and all that. But at the same time, we could engage. We could not really see the details of everything. I want us to get to see something here. I want us to see the demonstrations in Nairobi first before we get back to Tanzania.
On December 9th, 2025, 6 Kenyan human rights activists gathered outside the Tanzanian High Commission in Nairobi's Muthaiga area to deliver a petition demanding accountability for mass killings and enforced disappearances in Tanzania following the October general elections. The group, which included Frederick Ojiro, the Rapid Response Officer for Purple Africa, Julius Kamau, Vincent Mboya, Lichuma, Shem and Geoffrey Mboya, stayed a seat in protest. Kenyan police arrived shortly after midday and arrested the activists. Detaining them without immediate charges, the Kenyan Human Rights Commission condemned the arrest as an infringement on the right to peaceful assembly. Frederick Ojiro served as Purple Africa's Rapid Response Officer, focusing on human rights advocacy in East Africa. Julius Kamau is known for his work in community organizing. Vincent Mboya and Geoffrey Mboya are involved in youth rights initiatives. Lichuma and Shem contribute to legal aid for marginalized groups. These individuals have histories of participating in regional solidarity actions. The protest was organized in solidarity with Tanzanians, marking the 64th Independence Day while calling for justice over election-related violence. The petition highlighted allegations of over 1,000 deaths and numerous disappearances during post-election crackdown.
Zanzibar ishakataa muungano bado mnalazimisha. Mrudi kwenu. Ushawachoka. Nataka nchi yetu.
Reports from Zanzibar indicate brief sittings calling for investigations into the deaths.
We remind the authorities of their obligation to ensure the right to freedom of expression, association, and peaceful assembly. We urge the government to instruct the security forces to plan and implement their operations in a manner that allows Tanzanians to fully exercise their fundamental rights. We remind the security forces that they must refrain from using force to disperse non-violent assemblies and make every effort.
And jailed. Madam Commissioner, I call on the European Commission and I call on the European External Action Service not to slip back into business as usual. I will spare you the diplomatic language used in recent statements, but the tone was certainly not as clear as it should have been.
Kenyan groups, including the KHRC, demand the release of the arrested activists. The events highlight ongoing regional concerns over electoral integrity and human rights.
And we're also calling on all Africans across Africa and global citizens to do the same and visit the Tanzanian embassies worldwide in order to put pressure on the Tanzanian government.
Watanzania kwa pamoja tukaona tushirikiane, tuungane, hatumtaki Rais Samia.
Now, you realize from the discussions, or rather the announcements being made or declarations by these groups are directly directed towards Samia Suluhu in a case whereby Tanzania was calling that a coup. Because according to them, these people who are demonstrating have not said when or how long they'll demonstrate, and they have not also shown the intention. According to the army leader, he was saying the people who want to demonstrate should go to the authorities and indicate why they are demonstrating, how long they are demonstrating, for them to be allowed to do so. Failure to do that means that they are not a valid or legal group to demonstrate, hence their demonstrations were considered a coup. And that is why Tanzania had to block it. I don't know how you think about it, but in my thought, I just feel like if Tanzania really didn't have money for Independence Day, they wouldn't have had money to throw, so many police officers in the cities, because there were just too many. And I believe when these police come around, they are paid. And away from that, the fuel used for their kind of vehicles, and also they were prepared with grenades and tear gas and all that. That's a lot of money that could have served in the celebration of Independence Day. And then at the same time, there could be some police who could have maybe given security to the people who wanted to demonstrate. And of course, if Samia Suluhu believes that she won 98%, then who is going to protest? Away from that, the Tanzanians, as she says, have been peaceful people who don't want to demonstrate unless they are engaged or hired. And since she came into leadership, I would believe that Samia Suluhu has been able to constrain people from that and actually put them in the right place peacefully, and also engage them into education to allow them understand that demonstrations are not necessary. She's going to do the best. However, when she was sworn in, what we saw is the appointments that were funny. First of all, the appointment of a daughter and a son-in-law in the Ministry of Education and Ministry of Health, among other friends. We also saw her Stanley coming out and saying that Tanzanians have been sponsored to conduct demonstrations, and she blamed the Catholic Church, not directly but through her speaker. They always say there is always somebody who will take the blame by, or rather whistleblow or sound out what the president wants to say. And I think you heard that recently in a discussion that was conducted in a Kenyan, studio. Now, I'm not so clear about why Tanzania had to do this. But Samia Suluhu justified just the other day that the shooting was right because people were demonstrating in the streets, and what would she have done? So she has no apology towards the people who lost their lives, those who lost their ability, now they are disabled, and even those possibly who have been buried in the massive graves. Now, remember, there have been so many people who have been given information that when they were shot by the police, they were just coming from work, and they were caught in a situation they could not evade. And if you are shot and you fell, the police were finishing you, unless you run away and fall at a distance, which is so unfortunate. But anyway, that is Independence Day for you that erupted today in Tanzania. And we saw some few demonstrations, not so much. And the people didn't listen fully, but most of them did not go to the streets. I want us to check on something just briefly before I just close down this. We are into 15 minutes. I wanted 20 minutes. Let me see this. Oh my God.
ClickUp AI Note Taker is different than all the rest. It allows you to focus on your meetings, not your notes. It captures everything.
Tuelekee Tanzania na barabara nyingi katika jiji la Dar es Salaam nchini Tanzania zilisalia maame mchana kutwa, huku wakazi wengi wakisalia ndani ya nyumba zao.
Anne Madanche, welcome to the house.
Maandamano yaliyopangwa kufanyika leo dhidi ya serikali ya Rais Samia Suluhu Hassan. Jijini Nairobi nako wanaharakati kadhaa wa humu nchini walikamatwa na kutiwa ndani baada ya kuandamana nje ya ubalozi wa Tanzania. David Mudhoka anaarifu jinsi siku ilivyokuwa humu nchini na hata kule Tanzania.
Katika kile kinachoonekana kama kinaya, hii ndio ilikuwa taswira jijini Dar es Salaam katika siku ambayo Watanzania walikuwa wakiadhimisha miaka 64 ya uhuru.
Sasa hivi ni saa 3. Barabara zina watu. Siku ya kusherehekea uhuru, watu wamefungiwa ndani kama panya.
Barabara zilikuwa mahame, afisi na biashara nyingi hazikufunguliwa siku nzima, huku wakazi wengi wakisalia ndani ya nyumba zao. Taswira ilikuwa ile ile katika stendi za magari ya uchukuzi, huku machache yaliyokuwa yakifanya kazi yakilazimika kubeba hadi pomoni. Katika siku za hivi karibuni, waandamanaji wa Tanzania, wengi wao vijana, walikuwa wametangaza kujitokeza kwa wingi kuandamana dhidi ya serikali ya Rais Samia Suluhu Hassan, wakiahidi mama wa maandamano tarehe 9 Disemba, licha ya serikali nchini Tanzania kupiga marufuku maandamano ya aina yoyote siku ya leo. Hata hivyo, waandamanaji hao hawakutokea barabarani kama walivyotangaza, ila ni maafisa wa polisi walionekana wakipiga doria, sio tu Dar es Salaam bali pia katika jiji kuu la Dodoma na katika maeneo mengine kama vile Mwanza.
Samia must go! Samia must go!
Na zaidi ya kilomita 800 kutoka Dar, mambo yalichemka kwenye ubalozi wa Tanzania jijini Nairobi. Wanaharakati na waandamanaji kadhaa walikita kambi nje ya ubalozi huo wakiimba nyimbo za kuipinga serikali ya Rais Samia.
So we are here on behalf of our brothers and sisters who have been denied their right to peaceful assembly, their right to speak out. We are here now to speak out on behalf of the people of Tanzania. Samia must go! Samia must go!
Mtafaruku mkali uliibuka wakati polisi walipokuwa wakiwakamata baadhi ya waandamanaji hao. Waliokamatwa walitiwa ndani ya kituo cha polisi cha Central jijini Nairobi, wakitarajiwa kukesha hapo kabla ya kufikishwa mahakamani hapo kesho Jumatano.
All right guys, so I don't know what exactly will be the verdict in court, or what accusation will they set against the people, these young boys in Kenya. And funny enough, again, are these boys not trying to justify what Samia Suluhu has been raising against Kenyans? But anyway, it is what it is. So Samia Suluhu actually did drop this message. Heri ya miaka 64 ya uhuru wa nchi yetu. Tunamshukuru Mwenyezi Mungu mtukufu kwa hatua hii kubwa. Tunapoadhimisha siku hii muhimu, tukumbushane umuhimu wa kuendelea kulinda tunu za taifa letu za amani, umoja na mshikamano. Tunu hizi ndizo msingi wa mafanikio ya safari yetu, ambayo ni mfano wa kipekee Afrika na dunia kwa ujumla. Matunda ya uhuru wetu yanaendelea kudhihirika katika uwezo wetu wa kuamua, kupanga na kutekeleza mipango yenye manufaa kwa wananchi na yenye kulinda maslahi ya taifa letu. Haya ndiyo matunda ambayo waasisi na wa taifa letu pigania na ambayo dunia tunayalinda. Mungu abariki Tanzania. So that's exactly what Samia Suluhu actually dropped. A message to say that she was reminding people on the importance of independence, and the fruits of that were that is peace, togetherness, and unity, and that is the foundation of their growth to whatever they want as the only unique country in Africa. And the fruits of their independence will only be availed if they decide, they plan, and they ascertain or rather fulfill what the citizens want by protecting their country. And that is what she will look after, because she's happy about it. She is excited and she is focused towards protecting it. So guys, that is Tanzania for you, and of course Uganda will be reacting to it tomorrow. But Chagulanye is still facing a lot of challenges from Museveni, with his teams being blocked, supporters being arrested left and right. So where is democracy in Africa? I'll just ask you that question as we end this 20-minute video. I'm doing short videos because of lack of time, and also sometimes when you strain so much you feel a bit tired, but I'm appreciating those who have been watching me all along. Bye bye for now. Let's meet later.